to be able to present the results right around the Mother's Day timeframe. We find that's really useful for marketers, and there's just sort of a lot of interesting content, women-oriented content that we can get to that way.
Yes, I noticed that last year things came out around Mother's Day, and it is a wonderful time to kind of release the results of that annual survey. And I'm curious what topics you're going to be exploring this year.
Well, this year we're going to ask moms about their latest views on Mother's Day and motherhood so that we can get the up-to-the-minute information on trends for our retailers. But we're going to add in an interesting question that we didn't ask last year, which is, how do non-moms feel about Mother's Day? Of course, everyone can participate in Mother's Day because everyone has a mom, but how do you feel when you're not a mother and there's some friction in the women community between moms and non-moms? And so do they feel left out? Do they feel it's all about somebody else? Or do they really not care? Are they into the joy of motherhood even though they're not moms themselves?
And, of course, these women actually hopefully have moms, so there's still, I'm sure, some type of meaning related to Mother's Day. Hopefully, it'll clearly your panel will be able to tell us, though.
Yeah, they will. And one of the things we found in previous years is sometimes when you're a mom and you're very involved in primary caregiving, when your kids are really kind of very involving at younger ages, some moms kind of resent Mother's Day if it's all about their mom or their husband's mom, and they have to go and, kind of cook a big meal for their husband's mom who has kids who are grown, who isn't working with kids all day long, and they sometimes want the Mother's Day to be about themselves. So our question is, do non-moms feel that way? Do they feel like it's a day that doesn't have anything to do with them, or do they love celebrating the other moms in their lives?
Well, that will be fascinating results. I look forward to reading all about it. Now, I know you go out and you talk to your alpha panel around the What Women Want survey each and every year. Talk a little bit about who comprises the alpha panel.
Well, the Alpha Panel is about 400 women who are nationwide. We tend to have them concentrated in about 10 major markets, but there are, women here and there that kind of fill in, even though we're concentrated in the larger cities. Now, they tend to be what we would qualify as sort of ahead of the curve women. So they are incredibly outspoken. They tend to be pretty articulate. They just are sort of really curious types who are on top of everything. And what we find is that every woman has one or two women like these in their circle. She might be the one, it might be her best girlfriend. And whether your circle is you're at the office, in the neighborhood, at the school, in your gardening club, in your parenting group, whatever it might be, whatever your interest or whatever occupies your time, there are those sort of alpha women that stand out in any group who have the first and foremost opinion on sort of just about any topic. And all the other women tend to sort of look to her because she's smart. She sort of tells you where things are going, what the bottom line is right now, and we all look to her for opinion. So that's why we comprise our panel of women like that, so that they can help our marketing clients sort of know what's around the bend.
Well, and for sure, if they're influencers, we definitely want to be able to tap into them. And I know you tap into this panel pretty much any time, not only for the What Women Want annual survey that you do, but you are able to go to them with specific things that your clients may want, correct?
Yes, we do a lot of proprietary research with our clients. We work with a lot of consumer-based marketers in all sorts of categories, and they often will want to know what alpha women want, either because they're influencing the mass market or because they can kind of predict what's going to happen in the next, say, 6 months to 2 years. So all sorts of marketers, from large and small, will want to talk to our women, and they find that the women are very articulate and can kind of cut to the chase and get them the information they need without having to do endless rounds of focus groups or mall intercepts or something like that. So it's more efficient, and it's more fun.
Well, and it's interesting because I know I was reading some results not too terribly long ago around what your alpha panel wanted when in their next president. And at the time, of course, we hadn't had the presidential election. November hadn't happened. So I'm curious, as you reflect on kind of what those women were seeking in their next president, do you feel like they ended up getting that? I'm curious about the findings of that particular question.
Well, it was really interesting because we asked them to kind of come up with the recipe for the perfect president. And this, again, was fielded before we had Election Day. But at that time, they were kind of looking for a 5-ingredient recipe. And when we studied, the results, and then ultimately President Obama was reelected, and now the things that are being tackled, it really hits home. I think these women really identified what, what other Americans were looking for. They wanted someone, first and foremost, that could really manage our economy and sort of put a focus back squarely on the middle class. And those of us that, are kind of the bread and butter folks in America that need to do better given our more struggling economy. So that was the number one ingredient that they were looking for, and they really said, I believe Obama is the one that can deliver on that.
And here you go. He was reelected, so it's just kind of
right.
interesting. And we know that one of the reasons he was reelected was women. So it's interesting how those kind of aligned. And I know in that same list of questions, looking at the perfect presidential candidate was one of them, but you also looked at the economy at that time and shopping habits. And as you said, Mother's Day, because you do that every year. I'm just curious, what were some of the ahas that came out of the results of that particular survey?
About the Mother's Day?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I think that women were very interested, and this was somewhat, I think, controversial because a lot of women have different opinions on this, but women wanted to be, their number one response they wanted for Mother's Day was to be queen for a day or to have a significant gift. And the reasons behind those were that they wanted you in the family to really make much of them and really think about them and give them a gift that shows how much you know how much they do. So moms feel that they are on 24/7, wiping down the counter, taking everybody to soccer, managing the homework, doing all that stuff. And when it's their day, they want you to really know them, appreciate them, and put a lot of elbow grease into your gift. So if it's something that you pick up at, we heard horror stories. If you pick it up at Super America, like the morning of, or if you happen to be a 35-year-old man and you're doing a homemade gift with a Sharpie marker in the kitchen right before, it kind of betrays that you haven't really thought about it. And since they think about you and your family all, 365 days a year, they want you to think about them and put some more sort of sweat equity and thought into the gift.
Yeah, it's interesting because as much as we've all been kind of conditioned to learn, like, send a beautiful card, and our moms and our alpha panelists are not saying that a beautiful card is the wrong thing to do, but it sort of says when you care enough to send the very least, just run out to the convenience store and spend maybe 7 minutes and pick out a card. And, as Mary just said, it just doesn't equate to all that she's doing for the family, for the household, for everyone all the time.
That's right. It has to be equitable, people. Keep that in mind. And I know we're just past Valentine's Day, so there may be women out there who were disappointed around Valentine's Day. It's time to make it up around Mother's Day. Now, I know you tend to ask questions around the economy and shopping habits as well, year over year, and kind of try to track that. We know that this economy, we've been living with this new normal now for 4 or 5 years. What are some of the things that you've found that she's learned to live without? And conversely, what are those things she refuses to live without?
Well, we've seen a shift. Beth, do you want to go into what she won't live without, and I'll do what she is living without?
Yeah, so, she's definitely fueling more money into paying down debt and kind of getting the savings account bolstered up again. So that's probably one of the first things that she's going to put money towards. But there are still things that she's saying, I absolutely need to do these things each year. And one of them is for the major seasons, for spring and fall, she really is looking to add a few new apparel items to kind of bolster the closet. In a couple of years ago, what we would see is I'm really not going to buy any major new apparel items. I might get a few accessories. I might get a scarf or, a really modest handbag or something like that, where this past survey, we really found that they had appropriated enough budget to be able to get a few new fun things for the season. So a couple new cardigans or a great new pair of the skinny colored jeans or things like that. She also said that the gym membership is really important. Keeping up her fitness, and eating out is important. They're cooking how many nights a week. Getting to go eat out once in a while is something that she prioritizes and she'll put some money towards.
And the things that she is willing to, that she may have, have crept into the budget in the go-go 2000s, but came off in the recession and are not coming back on, are things like premium cable. She's not willing to pay for premium cable, and by the way, you can get Hulu or Netflix now, and it seems like it's a better value. A lot of women are saying that they're doing their own nails, and they're not going to the nail salon the